Welcome back to the Handy Outdoorsman. Today we're up at the property just putzing. I got a few things that I want to do on the tractor that I've been meaning to do all summer and I just have not gotten to it. And so I got a down weekend, not a lot going on at home or at work, so I figured this would be a good time to come up here and just relax. So I'm enjoying a good cup of coffee here in the camper, and I will say it's a lot nicer staying in the camper than a tent. So kudos to my son for purchasing this. It was a good investment. So today I want to work on a couple of things. So I've got some implements that when I put onto the tractor, they just sway, move back and forth when I'm going down the trail. So I want to put some stabilizer bars on the tractor, as well as I want to put on something called Pats Quick Hitch, and it's so that you can hook up implements a lot faster without trying to get everything aligned and then try and kick on the 3-point hinge sway bars. It's just it's a lot. It's a chore depending upon the implement. So I saw these Pats Quick Hitch out there. So I'm going to put those on the tractor and I'm going to see how they work. So hopefully it'll be a lot easier hooking up and taking off implements on the tractor. And then other than that, we'll check on the food plots, see what's going on. We'll check the trail cameras, see if we got anything on the trail cameras. I know I got to move a couple of them because I'm not getting any activity out there. No signs whatsoever, so I got to move a couple. But yeah, that's the game plan today. Just get done when we get done and take our time doing it. All right, let's go take a look at the tractor. So we've already had breakfast. Chuck box working out great. There's nothing I would change on it. The design of it, it's perfect. So breakfast has been made, dishes have been done, and then in the tractor, I'm really glad that I went through it, and I've had no problems with the tractor since I brought it back up here after redoing everything. It's great. Now I put a new battery in it because I had an older battery before, and the battery spilled in the back of the truck, so I had to put some more acid in it, and I overfilled it, and so I've got some places where the acid overspilled out of the battery and onto the tractor. So I've got some paint peeling because of that, so I'll have to clean the tractor up and then put a little bit more paint on it. But overall, it's running great. It's a little dirty, needs a bath, but no time soon, I'll tell you that. But yeah, when I hook up implements to the back of the tractor, they just sway. There's nothing to kind of help stabilize them. So what I've done is I went out on Amazon and I bought stabilizer bars that'll go onto the back of the tractor. Now, they didn't come with any instructions, so I'm trying to figure this out, how to put them on. So these are the brackets that come with it, and I believe that this end here will hook up to the fender bolts that protrude through, and then this side here is where I can adjust the bar where that needs to go, so that I can take it on, take it off easily. So I believe that's how it's supposed to be hooked up. I'll play with it for a little bit and see how it's really supposed to go on. And then once that's all done, I've got everything here for the Pats Quick Hitch. And you've seen these all over YouTube, and they seem to work very well. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. And I'll explain a little bit. There's actually 2 sets of pins. They don't come with it, but you need to order another set of these pins if you own a Ford N-Series tractors. And I'll explain that in a little bit on the reason why. All right, so let me go ahead and get this stabilizer bar on and see how that goes on first. So I just wanted to show you that without that stabilizer bar, my 3-point swings quite a bit. And even when both of them are hooked up, they'll swing in parallel, and that's a lot of movement. My carryall, the rake, everything I attach has just got a lot of movement. Now, if I put this stabilizer bar on here, and that's on there, that's all the movement I get. Okay, there's still a little bit of a swing there, but nothing like it was before. So that's the reason I'm putting these stabilizers on. Okay, now one thing I do want to point out is that when you put that bracket on, the L goes towards the inside, away from the tire, but it goes in towards the 3-point hitch itself, and then that way it'll stop it from moving too much. And there are some adjustments where you can go ahead and put that pin at the top in different positions to adjust to your 3-point. So this one's on. I know what I'm doing now. Now I'll come to this side and do the same thing. Second side went much quicker now that I know what I'm doing, but it does take a lot of play out of the swing of the arms. It's pretty stiff, and that's what I'm looking for. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the Pats Quick Hitch on here. And the nice thing about this is that if I do have an implement that is wider than what you see here, I can always take these stabilizers off. They're not permanent. You know, they're just held in with a pin back here. I can take that pin out, and there'll be one up here as well, and I'll take the pin out if I need something hooked up that's wider than the stabilizer bars will allow. So I think it's a win-win here as far as having them and then taking them off when I don't need them. All right, let me get the Quick Hitch hooked up here, and I'll show you how that's done on a Ford N Series tractor. So on the hitch itself, there's a pin that goes through the center, and this is what your arm of your 3-point will slide into. So it'll slide into here. This pin goes through the arm of your 3-point, and then what's that? That's locking that in. But what you need to do is you need to make sure that that arm is level with this hitch here. So those shims go underneath here to fill this gap so that the hitch itself is not moving back and forth. So we're going to put those pins in here before you put your arm in there through this pin here. So let me show you how that works. So the kit comes with 2 different size shims. So depending upon what you needed to fill that gap, what the thickness of your 3-point arm is you put these shims, 1 or 2, together, and then the kit comes with a roll pin that you'll hammer in. I don't know if this will fit in there without me hammering it in, but you kind of put the roll pin through here, through both of them, and then you're going to put that roll pin in there so that you have a little bit sticking out right here, just like this. And then once that's sticking out, you're going to take that and then you're going to slide it inside. I don't know if I can get that on the camera or not. There's a hole down here. You're going to slide this shim right in there so that that roll pin sticks through the bottom, and that's going to fill that gap. So for most tractors, that's not a problem. It works just fine. But what has been discovered with the Pats Quick Hitch is on the Ford N Series tractors, that gap is a little bit narrower than some other tractors. So if you call the company here and tell them that you have a Ford N-Series tractor, they will send you out an additional kit. Let me show you what that is. That additional kit includes additional shims and longer roll pins to be placed in there. In addition to that, the pins that go through the hitch itself, they send you out a longer set. And what that will allow you to do is to use your stabilizer arms on your tractor if you have them. And that's how I discovered this. I was actually trying to see if putting this on will work, and then I was watching another video. Somebody else had some stabilizers that they couldn't use on their tractor now because the Quick Hitch didn't have long enough center pins. But if you call the company, tell them what you have, they'll send this out. Now, I offered to pay for this. They sent it out as free of charge and just said, no, it's part of what you need for your tractor. So they're a great company to work for. So they're a great company to work with, and they definitely know their product. So they had this kit available. But once you get the arm situated into the hitch itself, and you have the shims there, let me get this in here, and then I'll try and focus back in. And then once you get the shims in there, then what you'll do is you'll center your arm in this opening, and then you take these bolts and you bring them in this way, and it's going to squeeze it right here. And when it squeezes it right here, it's going to hold it in place. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to put shims on the bottom to fill this gap here. Once we get it in there, we'll put in the longer center pins so that we can put on our stabilizer bar. And then once that's in there, then we'll take these bolts and then clamp it down. Now there's one more thing to make sure that it really stays in place, is there's this U-bolt that goes in and it feeds right through here, and you're going to put it, can't do it on the truck here, but that pin's going to come all the way down here, and what that's going to do is prevent this from lifting up or tightening it down against those shims, so it's nice and sturdy. So those will go in as well. Pretty simple, and hopefully it'll make hooking up attachments that much easier. So let's go put this on the tractor. Alright, I've got the arm of my 3-point propped up so that it's going in a straight line. And what we want to do is we want to put on this receiver, and we want to keep it in a straight line as well. You don't want one end to be this way or one end to be up. You want it nice, straight line all the way across. And that's where you would put the spacers down in here to fill that gap, so that when it sits on here, it's sitting close. I mean, you might be a little bit off, but you want it as close as you can get. So let me put spacers in here and see how many it's going to take to get this to sit level. So for me, my combination to be level with my arm was 2 thin shims and 1 thick one. I then took a roll pin and pounded through all 3 of them until it was flush on the bottom. Now that I've got a little piece sticking out on the end, I'll take that and put it inside the receiver itself, and it'll go through the bottom hole right here, and you can see right here it sticks out a little bit, but that's what you want. That way this is not moving or going anywhere. Then now I can take this and put it here. It lines up perfectly. Now what I'm going to do is just take these bolts and slowly bring them in so that we get it straight, and so that the arm's not crooked one way or the other. We're going to try and keep it straight, and then we'll just slowly bring in these bolts. Now that it's snug, we'll go ahead and take a wrench, tighten them up. We'll do the bottom as well, and then we'll take these lock washers, or excuse me, lock nuts, and tighten those down, and that'll keep this from coming off completely. So now that I've got this securely in place, I'm going to take this U-bolt, put it between the two holes here, and then put it down on my 3-point arm. And what that's going to do, it's going to lock it down so that it's not lifting at all once it goes to pick up an implement. So let me put this on, tighten this up. Now that it's on there snug, I'll come back, put 2 lock washers on there. We should be good. The last thing to do is to put a cotter pin on this side here. Should slip right in. And I'll bend that back with a pair of needle nose, and then this side's all done. Now you're probably wondering why there's a hole on this side. Let me get the other one on, and I'll show you what that's for. One thing to note is that before, where the center pin was to pick up the, or to attach the implement to where it's going to be attached now, is about 4 inches. So you're adding 4 inches to this length of connecting your implement. Now, depending upon your PTO shaft and how much room you have in that, you may need to extend or buy another shaft to connect into your PTO and to your end device if it requires your PTO. So this extension here may cause you a problem depending on how much room you have in your PTO shafts. The purpose for those holes on the inside is so you can put this bar on here and then mark the bar depending upon your implement so that you'll always get that right spacing for your implement, and it'll make it a lot easier to when you go to back up and connect your implement. Now I'm seeing here that when I go to hook up this stabilizer bar, it's too much. I've got to do some adjustments back here. It's pushing it over too far, so I may have to put that back on the other side. I'm gonna have to play with it and see what's going on, but my stabilizer bars are not connecting up correctly. But one thing at a time. I want to get this connected first, make sure that these are working. All right, so let me go ahead and make sure everything's tight, and then we'll go ahead and hook up an implement. Well, the first time I go to use this on the implement I wanted to use it on the most was this finish mower. I've come to find out that I can't back up in here because there's a plate. There's a plate right here that prevents the quick hitch from getting underneath it. And boy, this is the one implement I really wanted to use it on because it's the heaviest, but this here is a plate that has a chain that you can connect up to relieve the strain on the 3-point. So I don't really want to cut that out, but yeah, that did not work. So didn't look at that or think about that when I wanted to put these quick hitches on. It's not the fault of the quick hitch, it's just the design of the implement. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I may have to take these pins off and then try and slide it in like I would normally would. That may be the only way because I like having these on. So let me go and find another implement to show you how this works as far as a quick connect goes. All right, the first thing, you want to get over there, Bo? Thank you. First thing we need to do is take off the retaining pin, and we're going to put on this bracket. It's basically a washer that looks like it's been folded, and this is going to go in, and I'll put my retaining pin back on. And so now when the when the receiver comes in, it won't come off because of this clip. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. And again, when the receiver comes up, it can't come off. All right, let me show you how much easier it is to hook up the 3-point to an implement.